Dr. Brandon,
Dr. Morgentaler.
how great to see you.
Oh, you as well.
It's another episode of the Sex Doctor.
It is.
I can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, we're going to talk about something related to parenting. It relates to a lot of people, actually.
Okay, let's hear.
Before we start, a small disclaimer. The Sex Doctors podcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice.
So, have you heard this concept of the mom brain? And now there are more research is coming out about the dad brain,
Oh,
which
mom brain, dad brain.
mom brain and dad brain,
Yeah.
which basically suggests that, or shows, not just suggests, shows that brains shrink once you become parents.
Uh-huh.
And the researchers kind of across the board are proposing that this is adaptive, like it's evolutionarily adaptive that these changes occur so that folks become more focused on parenting and less focused on, other stuff around them. So they could focus.
I've read a little bit about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
And very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And, it's a bummer, I think, for people who feel like they're less capable, because I've heard this from patients over the years, from women. I have not heard this from a guy, but women saying, like, I just can't concentrate, or I don't feel like I can hold data like I used to, these kinds of things.
Right. So listen, so mom brain, or maybe now dad brain, by itself isn't a great thing.
Yeah, well, it's not experienced well. No.
Right.
Yeah. But they say, the researchers say it is actually a great thing because it enables people to be more attached to their child.
Yeah, so what is right? So that's the interesting and non-intuitive part of this. So there's older data going back, I don't know, 10 years or more with women,
Yeah.
young mothers, where the women who were most bonded with their infants,
Yeah.
the least ambivalent, happiest about being a mom,
Mhm.
showed, I think they had functional MRI studies too,
Mhm.
where they really had these great, powerful responses, had the most loss of brain volume.
Yeah. The ones that were more, I don't know, enthusiastic across the board about
Right,
parenting also lost the most brain.
right, especially in the cerebral cortex,
Mhm.
which is basically where thought is, processing, language skills, movement, all that
You
stuff.
need it. You need that
You
cerebral
need it.
cortex.
So what happened with the moms was they're saying, look, the women who had the most brain loss, brain volume loss, were the most attached to their kids.
Right.
So there's something like good going on here.
Right. Right.
And then more recently, there have been one study or more than one study in new dads,
Mhm.
where they did their brain MRIs before and after
Mhm.
the birth of a child.
Mhm.
And it turns out that the dads also have uh, loss of brain volume.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And also that at least in one of the studies, the dads who before the baby's born expressed the most interest in parenting
Mhm.
and being involved in parenting,
Yeah.
they were the ones who had the greatest volume loss.
That's amazing.
And so the researchers have speculated that this too, like the moms,
Yeah.
may be something adaptive in the sense that it's good for the bonding,
Right.
right? About that maybe you've got a leaner machine, right? Like it's streamlined for this.
That's exactly what they suggest, that sort of the brain in its neuroplastic ability kind of prunes out unnecessary neural connections so that the focus really is whatever's needed for the parent to care for that child and bond with the child.
Right.
They call it pruning.
Yeah. But of course, for me, you know, I think it's a great example of how science works and maybe what some of the pitfalls can be. Because what you have is an observation, or you have maybe two observations, and people try and make sense of it.
Right.
Observation number one is being a new mom or a new dad, the brain shrinks.
Right.
Observation number two is that there's some correlation, some association between how much your brain shrinks and how much you want to be involved or are involved with your kid.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And so you can make out of that what you want, but what some of the researchers have made out of it is they say, oh, look,
It's good.
it's good. It's that pruning, that
Yeah.
neuroplasticity working to enhance the bonding.
Mhm.
And all I can think of is sleep.
Sleep.
I remember when my kids were tiny, it was a misery. I didn't sleep. So listen, brain volume loss is associated with a number of things, none of which are good.
This is not a happy thing.
And sleep deprivation is one of them, right?
Right.
Diseases are associated with it, dementia is associated with it, being cooped up like people who are, in
Unstimulated.
unstimulated environments, they get volume loss.
Mhm.
It's not a good thing. Your
S
brain is where we think. Brain is smaller. Not good.
Right, so you're saying that well, what are you saying?
So here's an alternative hypothesis,
Okay.
is that the parents, the fathers, the mothers who are most involved with their newborns
Yeah.
are waking up more,
Mhm.
are losing more sleep. And because they're losing more sleep, their brains get smaller. And so it's an association.
Right.
It's not like a causal thing.
And it's also not a happy thing. So, so often people try to spin things positively in the news, right? They try to spin all kinds of topics
Right.
into a positive
Right.
kind of place, and it kind of drives me crazy because there's a lot of things that are just you're not going to find the positive. So it for me it sort of stops me from writing some stuff because I'm not going to pretend it's good.
Right.
But this is an example of that like the authors felt a certain pressure to make this a good thing.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking. So, there's a similar, I think, a similar kind of story that was published, I don't know, 10 years ago in, I believe, the Philippines, where they looked at testosterone levels in young fathers and,
Oh yeah.
and compared them to what happened to men of a similar age. They were all pretty young, I think, in their early 20s, to young men who did not become fathers.
Yes, and they also compared it to like I don't know if it was the same researchers, guys who had one sex partner consistently or guys who had many sex partners consistently.
That's a different study.
Okay.
So
Right.
the one I want to hear about that one. So that the one that I'm talking about with the fathers had lower testosterone than the non-fathers.
Yeah.
Similar ages,
Yeah.
both young groups. How the researchers spun that one, and I'm going to call it spin. I mean,
Yeah.
they're making their conclusions out of it.
Yeah.
Um, was that the lower testosterone was an adaptive process again,
Mhm.
so that the men wouldn't stray so much.
Absolutely. Well,
Better for the
I've heard
family
that so
unit.
many times. Right.
Yeah.
The guys are less horny. They're less horny, so they're less interested in sex and they're more interested in parenting.
Well, all of those things may be true. They may be so so again, I think it's a sleep issue. So
Uh-huh.
testosterone levels are very sensitive to sleep.
Yes.
So, people who have disordered sleep, disrupted sleep, men with sleep apnea
Oh yeah.
have lower testosterone.
Right.
Actually, diagnosing and treating sleep apnea
Mhm.
can sometimes normalize a man's low testosterone level.
Mhm.
So there's some, especially endocrinologists, who almost routinely will order sleep studies on men with low testosterone to see if that's the cause and if they
Right.
can treat it without giving testosterone.
Mhm.
To me, that's a little too much,
Mm.
but there certainly are cases where that's worked. But this idea that somehow that there's an adaptation
Yeah.
where things work the way I want them to work
Mhm.
makes me crazy. And I don't think that's the explanation in those young fathers. Yeah, unless you can control for sleep, how much they're sleeping, you don't know that that the loss of testosterone is adaptive. It may just be
Right.
the consequence of bad sleep.
Right. And so back to the original studies, I think what you're saying is the more motivated parents or happier parents, or parents happy with parenting, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Lost the most brain volume because they were the ones that were most willing to lose sleep,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what that correlation is.
Right.
They were just more willing to stay up all night.
And on the father and the study with the fathers.
Yeah.
So the ones that before, remember that the correlation was that the men who before the child is born, wife is pregnant,
Yeah.
girlfriend's pregnant, the ones who expressed the most interest in parenting were the ones who had the most volume loss.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense that they would be more likely to wake up at night
Yeah.
to take care of the baby than
Totally.
somebody who says, "Not my problem. I I don't want to be involved,
Yeah,
right? This is the woman's problem. They're probably not getting up as much.
right. And you know what else this sort of supports is this also statistical point, I don't know what to call it, that this same brain loss happens for biological and non-biological parents. So that would mean that it wasn't like something that was primed in a pregnancy or something like that. This
Yeah.
wasn't. Do you understand?
That's an excellent point. I love that point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, just it doesn't matter if you gave birth or not. You're
Yeah.
still not sleeping, and so you're still losing your brain volume.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, there is and I
Did that
think,
just make sense?
yeah, it does make sense.
Okay. Okay.
And one of the researchers, I saw a non-technical description by one of the researchers who said, listen, this loss of brain volume, um, uh, maybe we should see this as a cost of having children.
Hmm.
Now, hopefully, the brain loss uh, uh, reverses.
I was going to ask you that. Do we know that?
I don't know the answer. Do you know the answer?
I sure don't.
I don't know
It's
the
a good
answer,
question.
and I don't know that they've necessarily looked again later on. But there's an acute event happening. It's both a joyous event when a newborn enters the family, and also really challenging.
Very stressful. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
same time. Now I have a question.
please.
You know, I'm the mother of a cat. Now I'm not the biological mom of
Although
the
there
cat,
are some similar traits.
of the kitty and I. Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. But here's
Yeah,
my question.
yeah,
Sometimes I feel like I'm not home enough. I'm not being a good enough mom. I let the cat have access to the bedroom at night.
yeah,
Wakes us up.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
feel like a bad mom, so I gotta let the cat wake us up
yeah.
so that the cat's got
The papa
company.
isn't always that happy about the cat
The
wake.
kitty papa, not so
Yeah.
bad. But that's not the question is, the more I let the cat in at night, is that shrinking my brain?
Anything that disrupts your sleep is not great. In this day and age where every other a million podcasts are talking about health,
Yeah.
maintaining your health, there's like one theme with all of them. You got to get your sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it is that people lose sleep, they don't function well. I
Right.
personally don't function well without sleep. I'm a
No.
misery.
Me too. But this has some the sad ramifications for the kitty cat in terms of our letting him in at night,
Well, yeah. Well,
you know.
he sleeps about 90% of the day anyway,
I know.
so he can make it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But let me get back to you. You mentioned a study about number of sex partners and testosterone.
right.
Yeah. What's that
So
story?
that one that has been around a while. So I think that I read that in a book that was copyrighted in the early 2000s. Let's
Okay.
say 2004. Um, and it was a review of a bunch of research, and basically they found that guys who weren't having sex had lower testosterone than guys who were having consistent sex. Um, but guys who were having consistent sex with multiple partners had the highest testosterone levels.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So so that sounds straightforward, but I'm not sure that it is.
Hmm. So what say you, Dr. Morgentaler?
Because what happens is, there's and boy, I hope I don't get hate mail around this. So people have tried to figure out what is beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the old tried and true story was you need a face, more symmetry in a face
Yes, right.
is more beautiful.
Right.
But most people have a symmetrical face. Some people don't. But how we describe things is always towards a certain value. So more symmetrical, more beauty. And what people don't understand is that there's another side of to that seesaw,
Mhm.
which is a very asymmetry
Mhm.
is associated with less beauty.
Okay.
So the story with testosterone is that there's a range of testosterone levels amongst individuals.
Mhm.
If you said to me, based on the data that you're saying, and let's just assume that it's true, I don't know that data, but it's not true that somebody with a testosterone of 600 is necessarily, which is completely normal, is necessarily hornier or having more sex than somebody with a testosterone of 500.
Mm.
Like it's not linear. But what is true is that at the very bottom of that scale is going to be a group of individuals who have low levels of testosterone,
Mhm.
and they're not having sex with anybody.
Right. Because they don't really care to.
Right. The drive isn't there.
Mm-mm.
Below a certain threshold, it starts affecting people. And so people have make the mistake with testosterone of assuming everything is linear,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
A little bit more gives you more of this and that.
Mhm.
Even more gives you more libido, etc. But it doesn't work that way. What happens is that for almost everything that we know of around testosterone, with the exception of muscle, once you have enough testosterone, you're maxed out.
Hmm. Okay.
The brain, the neurons, whatever cell it is, prostate cells, can't use more than a certain amount. And that's because testosterone binds to a receptor
Mhm.
called the androgen receptor.
Mhm.
And it's the receptor
I
bound to androgen that then has its action. Well, you can max out on how much of that
I see.
receptor is filled.
I see.
But once you get below, if
Yeah.
you're going in the declining direction, once you get below a certain threshold, you're not stimulating things optimally.
Got it.
And so rather than I interpret data about these guys are having more partners with higher testosterone.
Yeah.
The way I interpret that as more likely is the guys with the lowest testosterone
Mhm.
are having the least sex because they're below that threshold.
Yeah.
That's how I get it.
But what about the difference between the guy with one consistent partner, the monogamous guy,
Yeah.
and the non-monogamous guy who's, you know,
Yeah, because there's some guys, if they have lower testosterone, it's the same story.
same story. If they have lower testosterone, they're going to be more likely to be monogamous.
They're not looking for anything.
They're not looking for anything.
They don't have much drive.
I see.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's without knowing what the study is,
Yeah, I know it's
that's what it
unfair
makes
to.
me think of because it's one of the misconceptions about testosterone that ever more testosterone leads to ever more of the behaviors or the experiences
Right.
that people associate with testosterone.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. Guys max out.
Very important.
One exception is muscle. Muscle, and I think I don't know this for sure, but the way that I put this together is there's no limit as far as we know
Mhm.
about testosterone or testosterone-like substances and how much impact they can have on gaining muscle.
Mhm.
And so you see the guys who are like muscles, the
Yeah.
bodybuilders and stuff. Some of them take the equivalent of 50 times the normal amounts of testosterone that a person has in their body.
Wow.
And
How do they get a hold of this? Is
and
this like all on like whatever the
It's
black
like
market or
it's a
something?
black market.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Just
get it from trainers or whatever. It's not being prescribed by doctors,
yeah.
and much of it isn't even testosterone.
Right.
It's other anabolic androgens. So, but muscle has a second receptor for androgens that's called it's
Oh,
a membrane-bound G-coupled protein receptor, and it's not the androgen receptor. So muscle has an extra mechanism
I see.
by which it can use testosterone.
Well, why is it in those circumstances when guys, I mean, my understanding is when they dose so high on testosterone, their testicles shrink, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's that about?
Well, that's a separate issue.
Well, but I'm so
That's a
curious.
that's a negative feedback. So much of the volume of our testicles, when I
Well,
say
I don't have
our,
any person. I'm just saying.
I was graciously including, yeah,
It's okay.
our, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking on behalf of all men,
Okay.
that a lot of the volume of the testicles is devoted to making sperm.
Okay.
So what happens when people have enough if they take testosterone
Like too much.
too much, or even sort of what we call replacement doses of
Okay.
testosterone,
So,
then the sensing mechanism at the hypothalamus and pituitary in the brain get the message there's enough of this stuff around,
mhm.
and the pituitary sends signals to the testicles to help with sperm production and testosterone. And those are the hormones, luteinizing hormone known as LH and follicle stimulating hormone known as FSH.
Mhm.
And so those hormones get shut down. Somebody's on a hefty dose
Okay.
of testosterone, they have undetectable levels of LH and FSH, and so the testicle isn't getting the signal to
To
make
do what
anything.
it is supposed to be doing, which includes two things, but both are getting shut down.
Exactly, including sperm.
Yeah.
And so as the cells at the seminiferous tubules where sperm are produced, as they are less stimulated, they become smaller.
Mhm.
And as you multiply that by the thousands of seminiferous tubules we have, the testicle itself gets smaller.
Okay, does the penis get smaller too?
No,
Okay. So because that's not the job of the penis to make
no,
sperm
the job of the penis is to
or
go up,
make
is
testosterone.
get hard and not get hard.
So is it unaffected by, like, overdosing on testosterone?
Penis is a thing unto itself.
Oh,
You know,
that's
it's
beautiful. That's, like, poetic, baby.
you know how the penis is like has a mind of its own.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's separate.
it's really happy. It
Yeah,
doesn't it does it
but
could
the
just
testicles depend a lot on the pituitary gland and the signals that it sends out to stimulate it.
Okay, so if a guy is way overdosing, one of the reasons I'm asking you about this high testosterone stuff is because I am aware of the fact that young kids now are getting like information on TikTok and stuff
Yeah,
about how to get some of these medicines. Like, they're
yeah,
not medicines, right?
yeah,
How to get and dose up on things like testosterone.
yeah,
And then they're getting stuff that's, shrink having the opposite effect,
yeah,
and we need to be worried about that. So I'm
yeah,
hoping that somehow having this kind of discussion, somehow it's gonna trickle down to some of these teens that think it's a good idea to dose high
yeah,
on androgens,
yeah.
right? So that's really where this is
So
coming
that's the
from.
important thing. So one of the most important side effects, if you will, of going on testosterone or any of the anabolic steroids
Mhm.
is that the testicles can get smaller, but
Right.
also can cause infertility. So the young guys, there's a lot of interest.
Yeah,
They want to compete. The percentage of young high school athletes on anabolic steroids is huge. You know, in high
yeah,
school sports.
yeah.
But it's not good for you.
No, but they're being told very much otherwise and even taught how to get a hold of this stuff
Yeah,
so that their parents don't see.
yeah,
So they are getting so manipulated,
yeah,
and parents don't know this is going on, nor do they know their kids getting a hold of this stuff.
yeah.
So it's horrifying, really. So that's why I wanted to ask you about
Yeah,
this.
well, I'm glad we should actually cover that. You know, it's a whole conversation
Yeah,
in itself.
yeah.
Well, Dr. Brandon,
Dr. Morgentaler,
yeah, so we've covered brain loss in new parents.
we have
It's generally not a good thing.
no, and we're hopeful that their brains recover and get big again.
They do. Most people get over their mom brain and dad
They
brain.
do. I mean, I've
Yeah,
heard women say they don't feel it anymore. So hopefully that means that
yeah.
their
It's
brain bulked
direct.
up again.
I think it's directly related to when the kids start sleeping, the parents start
Do
sleeping.
you think your brain shrank when you became a new father?
Oh yeah, for sure. But then it got even larger than it ever
Well, I was
had
going to
been.
say, like, it has no indication
That
that
kind
it's still small. So
Men hate
you've
that word
recovered.
small, yeah, for any of their organs.
Yeah.
But I would say that my brain is larger and my heart too
Oh, I
has
love it.
grown.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Well, on that note,
Big shout out to my daughters. Love you guys. Don't worry that you made me lose sleep. I'm over it now.
yeah, yeah.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Well, thus ends another episode of the Sex Doctors Podcast.
Yes.
You can find us at thesexdoctorspodcast.com. Subscribe so you don't miss any of this amazing content.
Right.
And because where else are you going to learn about this
That's
stuff?
really true.
Yeah. So until next time,
Okay.
I bid you adieu.
Adieu.
Bye bye.